Hi guys, my name's Nathan and today I want to give my first impressions on one of my most anticipated games of the year. No, it's not Battlefront or Fallout 4, it's Football Manager 2016 and it's here with all the updated players and new features. Now, over the years I've put in hundreds of hours on these games and I really love the series, and I have to say so far it seems this year's version is yet another masterpiece. It should be said that the game is technically still in beta, but with full release only being 2 weeks away, I think it's a pretty safe bet that this is mostly representative of the final game. So what's changed? Well, the first new feature you'll come across is the manager customization. This allows you to build a manager in your own image and have him command your team from the touchline. Whilst the editor is a little bit restricted and it obviously doesn't have too much effect on the game as a whole, it is still an appreciated addition into the game, and it adds a little bit of immersion that I feel is always nice to have. Next though, we come to a more important change to the in-game systems, and that is the new set piece creator. FM 2016 has a completely new interface for designing set pieces, but in my opinion even more key to the changes is the ability to set several different routines. This allows you to have many different ways to break the opposition defences and get those all-important goals from set pieces. Obviously this could be a complete game changer if you're someone who likes to make the most of your free kicks and corners. Personally, as a player who goes for more of a passing style game with a lot of technical but usually shorter players, this won't be as useful for me as it will for some, but it's still important to get as much out of your set pieces as possible, and if this editor manages to bag you 2 or 3 extra goals a season, they could be the difference between hanging on to your job and being sacked. Another set of changes that they're really trying to push this year is the creation of 2 new modes. The first is the Fantasy Draft, which I must confess I actually haven't got a chance to try yet, but it basically entails you building your own team and pitting them against other real life players in a mini league. Now obviously I can't really give an opinion on that yet, but the other new mode is Create a Club mode, which I have tried, and that allows you to start a new club from scratch with a predetermined budget. Now I can see how this would be appealing to a lot of people, but for me personally I play Football Manager in order to get as close as possible to being involved in the real football world, and for me this mode takes away from that. That though is just my own subjective hang-up, and I have to say from a more objective standpoint, they do seem to have implemented the system very well, with an extensive customization system and a handy filter to find the right players for your team. You can either choose a solid team throughout every position, or sacrifice a few less important spots in the team to secure yourself those all-important superstars. But after all of that, we come to possibly my favourite change of all, which is the complete overhaul to team and player instruction UI. The sliders and other weird instruction methods have gone to be replaced by a much slicker visual interface, which in my opinion offers a more realistic way of telling players what you want from them. I mean, it's a lot easier to say to a player, I want you to close down more often, than it is to say, I want you to close down about 2/3 of a slider's worth. All in all, these new options might actually make it slightly more difficult to fine-tune your tactics, but in my opinion they are a great improvement on previous FM iterations' way of doing things and offer a much more realistic and immersive experience. As for everything else that's been changed in the game, I feel as though they've mainly just tweaked things to make them feel a bit better and more realistic, like press conferences where you'll be asked more varied questions that should hopefully make a bit more sense. That's not to say that I feel they needed to do more than just tweak things. Personally, I think the game has been superb for years, and has always just had a few minor issues that needed to be cleaned up, and that seems to be what they're doing right now, and I for one am delighted with it. Sure, the in-game graphics engine hasn't really changed at all this year, and doesn't look particularly realistic when you get close up, but it's not really supposed to. It's supposed to be a representation of how players would move and what they're doing, so you can alter your tactics to correct issues and exploit opposition weaknesses. Alongside all that, transfers seem realistic on the whole, player stats generally seem fair, and everything just feels so slick. I really think this is the closest we've ever been to being real football managers, and if somehow you can't tell, I am loving this game so far. I think my family and friends are going to be seeing a lot less of me over the next few weeks as I fall into my FM 2016 coma. If I had to look for one negative, it'd have to be that the boards seem a little bit more stingy this year when making requests. I believe this is just because they don't want you coming into a club and demanding more resources straight away, but I really would like to put a bit more focus on youth recruitment and training, and right now my board is preventing that. But to be honest, that issue is so minor that it barely even matters. Now, I would take my opinion with a pinch of salt, because I clearly love this series, and I know it's a bit of a cop-out, but it's not for everyone. But if you love your football and have always wondered what it'd be like to take charge of your own team, then I can wholeheartedly recommend Football Manager 2016. And whether you're starting with a top-tier team or taking charge of a club in the bottom division, which by the way is my personal favourite way to play, you'll have a great time watching your team develop and grow. Anyway, that's about it for today, so if you enjoyed the video, I'd be really grateful if you'd leave a like underneath, or even subscribe to the channel for more first impressions and reviews coming up soon. So anyway guys, thanks for watching, I've been Nathan, and if I can tear myself away from Football Manager long enough to make another video, I'll see you next time.